I just published my first ever one-shot module for Dungeons and Dragons that nobody was asking for. What exactly did I set out to achieve? Where could a person find this module, and why do any of this at all? Well, that's what this video is about to answer. So go ahead and cast Detect Thoughts. I'll fail the wisdom saving throw so you can read my mind and gain full insight into the creative process. Welcome to GB Road Games. Welcome to my inner monologue, where I have taken the form of a 20-sided die to explain why I went on this whole creative journey. The short and sweet answer is that it was a creative outlet, an opportunity to take everything I've learned as a player and GM over the last decade and convert that into a format that other people could pick up and then play. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So many modules out there, whether official or third party, are fantastic, accessible, with layouts and design that are easy enough to understand, but I wanted to put my own personal spin on this one. Something that was neither overly complex nor bloated, but also not too sparsely filled, requiring loads of improvisation. How exactly did I start this whole process? I had a particular session from a campaign I was running that I was fond of. The session was mostly standalone, perfect as something that could be played as a one-shot, which is a game supposed to be played over a couple of hours, which was perfect because there was no way I was ready to publish an entire campaign yet, being very new to this whole presenting my work to the world thing. The largest hurdle was making sure I could take the information about this adventure and assemble it in such a way that another person could run it. This involved breaking down the adventure and game into smaller bite-sized chunks. These bite-sized chunks, or scenarios as I came to call them, are designed for the GM to convey the choices in that given moment to your players. This is nothing very new, as most modules are structured like this, using chapters to set the stage and let players know what is happening and what the focus should be on in that moment. Having my first draft laid out like this, the next steps was to ask a few GMs I knew to run the game. Nothing will let you know what doesn't work and where to trim the fat better than letting another person attempt to understand your work. Ultimately, the more efficient and streamlined the information is presented, that creates less confusion and more time for fun at the table. After getting some feedback and fine-tuning this thing, the next step was applying some polish. It was one thing to transfer my pile of messy notes into something legible. It was another project to take my black and white document and apply some flourish. The only thing I brought to the table here was my game design. I am by no means a good artist, editor, or graphic designer. As luck would have it, I knew a group that could help me with that. The good people at Crema Design Studio helped me conceptualize, design, and select the right kind of elements this book should have, from fonts, images, and overall layout, and after they had lent their expertise, there it was in all its glory. If you'd like to see the finished product right away, you can go to gbroadgames.com and download it for free now. However, if you stick with me a moment longer, I will go into the details of what I have made. The Purple Gnome Inn is a one-shot fantasy adventure for 3 to 4 players at the 3rd level. Your player characters will be in charge of keeping the peace at a local inn and enjoying the evening's main event, a whimsical performance by the astonishing band called Go Big or Go Gnome. The adventure has a linear structure, with a clear hook at the beginning, lots of choices to make during the middle, then an ending based on your players' choices throughout the game. I wanted this adventure to feel like the choices mattered and the world moves forward regardless of where the player characters are at any given moment. Take a left turn at that fork in the road, maybe something else is happening on that path not taken that comes up later. The scenarios in the story naturally lead into each other, so hopefully nothing goes too far off the rails. But as with so many role-playing games, chances are you may go way off script, and that's never a bad option. If players come up with something fun and different, there's always room for improvisation in this story. In an effort to make this game easier to run, I broke the module down into a few sections, the first of which is the plot section. Ever wanted a synopsis of the story of a game up front instead of having to flip through the pages to know where it's all going like a novel? Me too, so that's what this is. A place for the GM to immediately grasp what your players are getting themselves into. Jumping right into the action, the next section, called the beginning, is exactly that. It sets up the hook your player characters are here for, then puts them right into the game, presenting the very first domino that gets tipped over to start the adventure that inevitably leads to the next set of choices. Naturally, as the game gets going, you may come to a point where your players need a break, and the next section is just that, aptly named The Break. A moment to recap the current standings of the story, Get your bearings as a GM and get ready for the ending. Appropriately, that's the name of the next section. The ending has the final confrontation, the trigger for the big finale, and confrontation and final repercussions. As I mentioned before, sometimes players will do things you can't account for. If that's happened, amazing and more power to them. But if all is aligning well as intended, the farewell section will allow you as the GM to provide a wrap up for the choices made throughout the game. The final sections in the module are all there to make your experience running the game better. The maps are there for your reference, all unique and custom made. They contain visual aids and layouts of the environment the story is taking place in. One of my personal favorite parts of designing any game I make, and while theater of the mind versus physical representations is a subject for a different video, I truly believe so much is gained from having a clearly defined, mapped out environment to cut down on confusion and help with combat, spatial awareness, and the like. The crew section holds all pre-made character sheets and stat blocks. If your players are new to the game, the prefabricated characters are an easy handout. And you can't run a good story without knowing what your NPCs are made of, how hard they hit, or what tricks and features they have up their sleeves to throw at your players. The with a question mark section contains references to rules and other pertinent information. It's basically an FAQ, sort of a written version of this video. So there it is, a brief overview of what this whole creative endeavor has brought. Just someone trying to bring their own adventures to life and make them accessible for you. I don't have much more to add here, but I do know that I hope to make more of these in the future. There's such a joyful moment when I see my players cheering their success or failures post session of a game during the cooldown moment. That spark of shared storytelling, the highs and lows, like the eventful Discord after coming out of a really good movie or theater with friends. So I hope this can provide that, whether new or veteran to the Dungeons and Dragons space. Best of luck and roll well.